The key to success on the field and in your backyard is a comprehensive game plan. So if you're building a fence or a deck this year, trust a Turkstra coach to design, quote, or order the right materials for your project. Visit a Turkstra Lumber near you to learn more.
From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker.
Welcome back to the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker. The Ticats coming off of a big win out west in BC to go to 4-6, and now coming up, of course, on the Labor Day Classic. That'll be Monday, September 4th, a 3:30 kickoff at Tim Hortons Field. As always, fans, send your questions to Ask Coach to gameday@ticats.ca. We have a question coming up later in the episode. We pick one every week, and you can send that with something in the subject line like question for Coach O to gameday@ticats.ca. Coach, you went out west 3-6 to face a Lion team that was 7-3, and you come home winning 30-13. What changed for your team out in BC?
Well, I just think we finally put together, 3 quality phases of football. And, we're always trying to win 2 of 3. We feel like that's a recipe to win more games than not. And I thought we came out with decent energy. We were able to run the ball, and I thought we were pretty physical up front. The game, the score wasn't really indicative of just how physical the game was and how intense it was, but we just needed to find a way to win, Luke, and I think that's what happened.
Yeah, it did seem cohesive. 3 phases for sure. You were coming off of a game with missed field goals on special teams, a lot of points against, struggling to get into the end zone, and all of those things got turned around. Defensively, the game started and you forced the turnover on downs right away. To me, you're right. The energy seemed different. Was that partly the trip out west? Was it just you guys came in with just a great vibe and energy that day?
We did, and sometimes, Luke, having been in that situation, sometimes you're just feeling it, whether it's as an individual or as a group, and you got to ride that wave when you do. Now, energy alone doesn't win ball games, right? I've been on, a few teams that have showed up a little bit flat, but the execution was so high that you're able to overcome it. Now, I know that sounds a little bit crazy when in a sport where you play once a week, and how come your energy? But football's so unique. You're getting in basically car accidents every week, trying to heal and get back. Most other sports, what's unique about football, I believe, is just most other sports, if you get an injury, you've got time. Baseball, there's so many games. Soccer, there's so many games. In football, there's so little games, and you're always pushing the envelope to play that next week, and then you got to play at a high level. So I just think that was one of those games where we were ready to play, and bigger than that, we were able to execute. So just proud of him. If you could bottle that up, it'd be a best-selling book and everything else. It's just you got to figure out your football team, and we played well, and now we're looking for consistency. Yeah,
is the energy, is the coming out playing with that type of sort of cohesive team energy, is that repeatable? Can you identify that and kind of and repeat it, or is it the stars aligning out in BC?
I think things can be replicated or duplicated, however you want to focus on it. But we've had great energy this year at times, and we just haven't executed well. And that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier. Is you can do those sorts of things, but the game comes down to execution, and then you boil it down to some tangible, if you want to call it analytics that have kind of withstood the test of time. We didn't turn the football over.
Yeah.
And we were able to take it away. And when you're +3, that usually bodes pretty well in the victory column. Nothing guarantees anything. And I thought, like you said, we put the ball through the pipes. They missed a field goal. I thought the defensive stop early kind of set the tone. And we were able to corral their running game. And also Vernon. Vernon can get out of the pocket, and we had some challenges with that the week before. Albeit different athletes, Vernon can hurt you too. And I think, he was somewhere under 10 yards of scramble yards. And that just boded well for us on defense. And offensively, I got to be honest, Luke, we've been doing this a long time, and I don't know that I've ever seen a 12-play drive. I'm not saying they haven't happened before, but a 12-play drive with 7 minutes, that's going to keep your defense fresh. That's going to keep your special teams fresh. That's going to keep their defense tired. And it's fun when those things happen, not to you, but for you, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, a lot of things went right. You came off a game in Edmonton where you had 7 sacks. You cut that down to 4. You scored points, obviously. You made your field goals. But the 0 turnovers, I mean, Taylor Powell, for a young guy, his first year, he's 2 games in a row with 0 interceptions. Is this just like his brand of quarterback, or is this part of his sort of progression with Scott Milanovic? Is it something that's being hammered into him, make sure you don't turn the ball over, or does he have a natural gift of ball security?
Yeah, I'd like to think the third part would be great. And we're just discovering a natural gift. I think it is in part with, understanding the expectations of Scott and just, with things that we're trying to get accomplished there. He works at it. He understands. He is a team first guy. And I think all sacks aren't equal. Yeah, we went from 7 to 4, and I'll say probably maybe 1, maybe 2 of those were probably on the quarterback also. However, it's okay to play the field position game sometimes rather than throw a pick, force a ball in somewhere because whatever the case may be. And now all of a sudden momentum swings and that sort of thing. And so there are such things as good sacks, I do believe. And I think he's taken a few of those. So I think consistency, again, is what you're always looking for in any realm. And with him, we're going to need to see consistency. And game film's going to travel. So, once he's got a month of games under his belt, that I'll better be able to answer that question. But I think it's a combination of himself, understanding the CFL game, and I think Scott's doing a great job with him.
That's a really interesting term. Can you elaborate on good sacks and kind of to a fan listening what that might mean?
Yeah, so, for example, you may be up 2 points, trying to put the game out of reach, and you're in what we would refer to more as the score zone. Some people call it the red, the low red. The bottom line is you're about to score. And, oftentimes it's said you don't want to take a sack, but that's mainly to take you out of field goal range. Those are times when you don't want to take a sack. However, a sack down there, instead of forcing the ball, isn't the end of the world. All right, all it does is mess up your stat line and maybe tick off a few O-linemen when they're trying to get extensions. But it's not equal. So that would be an example there, Luke, of a good sack in that situation. Also, maybe a D lineman comes free, and rather than hold the ball, have terrible ball security and try to force something in and things like that, that's an opportunity there to take a sack, play the field position game, and punt. They never look pretty in the stat column, and they never look pretty when you're watching them, but there is definite times for quote-unquote good sacks.
Few interesting plays on special teams out in BC. Maybe we'll start at the end of the game there. The hands team puts a touchdown on the scoreboard. I mean, I was on hands team for a lot of my career, and it's a privilege to end the game for your team. Sometimes that play is the last thing or close to by making a good catch in the open field while you're getting rushed by that onside team. But Tim White makes the reception and scores. It's got to be a boost for Jeff Reinbold's special teams to put points on the board like that.
Yeah, that's a unique situation, and you've seen some decent returns and things like that, and those things are tough. I think what people don't understand, and when you're on that hands team, is it's really not a guarantee. And I guess without getting too technical, I mean, you'd understand this very well, Luke, having been on there. You're outnumbered to one side no matter what happens. As long as you have somebody deep to return the ball, you're outnumbered. So they're going to have 12 on the line. You're going to have 11 up there. And so you kind of have to pick and choose your side. And, fortunately for us, we it's something that we work on in our mock game. I know you've been a part of it. And for those listeners, the mock game is just something that you go through as many game situations as you can. But, Federico did a great job of getting out of the way of a hot football, if you will. That thing was coming pretty fast there, and he got out of the way. Tim obviously has to make the play, and then he did the rest and ran to the end zone. So they kind of found their numbers, kicked it at two of our D linemen, and fortunately Tim was over there to make the play.
Yeah, really cool. And then earlier in the game, it was an interesting moment in the broadcast. So the play, Ticat punt team goes out. Sean Thomas Erlington comes in with a hatchet that's fit for the ball security teach tape and forces what seemed like a fumble. And then it was BC first down. Walk us through sort of the progression of that, and were you able to challenge? Did you have an opportunity to do so? And did you guys have a chance to see the clip? What happened in that series of events?
Hopefully we don't have any refs listening to this, but so very, very frustrating, to be honest with you. Very frustrating when you're playing hard. That's a point of emphasis for us, hatcheting the ball out. And when it's done by an offensive player, it's just fantastic. It just helps sell the message more. And I think Revenberg had one the year that you played in Toronto off of an interception. And You never know when it's going to come up. So, the ball was definitely out. Unfortunately, at the stadium on that, the ruling was that he was down. So, yes, I could have challenged if the ball was a fumble. And absolutely, it would have been a fumble. But I was told that the command center said there was not an immediate recovery. And so we wouldn't have been awarded the ball. So basically, the way I understand it is maybe we would have got credited for a forced fumble. However, we wouldn't have got possession of the football. And along those lines, just for those, because I know there was I know Betts got his 12th sack. You are not able to challenge a tripping. So that's not a challengeable call. So I knew that's probably coming up next while we're talking about that. So, I was frustrated. It's tough when you're down there and you want to keep a drive alive and, you get tripped. But, if they don't see it, they don't see it. So, unfortunately, I was not able to challenge on that fumble caused by Erlington. We wouldn't have got possession of the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, great, interesting turn of events, and it was not clear in the broadcast what exactly had happened as we went to commercial break, but game of inches and close calls from everyone on the field. Let's get to a fan question here. Fans and listeners, you can send your questions for Coach O to gameday@ticats.ca, and today we have a question from Karen in Westdale. Coach, the Labor Day Classic is the highlight of the season for me. Is it your favorite game as well, or is this just another day at the office? That's from Karen in Westdale.
Yeah, Karen, I would say the football game is played under the same rules and everything like that. So it is just the next game. Like, there's nothing special that we do in preparation. However, meaning that the tangible things. However, we do study the history of it a little bit and show some clips and the rivalry because it is special. While it is the next game and it kind of is just another game, it has different meaning. You can feel it when you're driving up to the stadium. It's just like I say it every year. Here I go struggling for about the 20th straight year of talking about it. You have to experience it. So it's something you can kind of try to describe. You can watch videos on it, but you got to come to Tim Hortons Field to feel it. And so I would say that because it's an East Division game, every year it has a little bit different meaning, maybe because of the standings and that sort of thing. So let me answer you directly here. I would say it's a smidge more than a regular game because of the Toronto Argonauts coming down the QEW or up the QEW to see us.
Yeah. That was from Karen in Westdale. Karen, thank you very much. Fans, send your questions to gameday@ticats.ca to ask for Coach. The Coach O Show with Luke Tasker is presented by Turkstra Lumber. Check out the project coaches at Turkstra Lumber. They can help with every part of your home renovation, from designing a deck to ordering a new front door. Learn more at TurkstraLumber.com. Coach, on the Labor Day topic here, is there a Labor Day Classic game as a player that stands out to you? One that you remember well, for big win, big interception?
You know what? I'd have to... Personally, I don't recall interceptions. I may have had one or two or so, but I do remember, I believe it was a tie. I couldn't tell you the year. I'm guessing at the top of my head, it was in the 30s, maybe 31 tie. I remember multiple ejections. This is when I was in Toronto. I was actually on the other side of it.
Oh, wow.
I remember multiple ejections at Ivor Wynne Stadium at that time. I think Troy Davis nearly died of heat exhaustion. I think he rushed for 200 yards or something against us. But somehow we were able to match the points there. So I remember that one vividly, and it's not because I did anything special in it. I think I've been ejected from a Labor Day Classic game. Or I know I've been ejected from a game at Ivor Wynne Field. Mm-hmm. I've been part of a lot of intense games. So it's just, I love the rivalry on both sides. You know, when I was in Hamilton, it was, you know, you just can't stand. I remember I've told this many times, but when Lancaster came over from Edmonton, you know, I always refer oftentimes when I was in the front of the stretch lines, because that's often when we had our brief conversations. And he came up to me one time and said, "Hey, oh." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Doesn't take you long to not like those guys down the QEW, does it?" And I go, "No, it's a pretty good rivalry there." And then, you know, once I went to the Toronto side, you got to remember there were still dugouts at the Ivor Wynne Stadium there, and boy, they didn't love me in Hamilton anymore when I was wearing 21 in Toronto. It's like O'Shea and I were never in Hamilton, and I just remember those intense things from warm up all the way to the end of the game, win or lose. Like, it's like, I don't know, motor mouth. They just kept riding. And so I also remember flipping back. When I came back to Hamilton, then they showed love again. So there it is. When you're a Ticat, they love you. When you're not, they hate you. It's that clean.
Wow. Yeah, our listeners will surely know very well the sentiment you're referring to, and that we're gonna have to look up for the broadcast what game you were ejected from. Make sure it wasn't a Labor Day Classic, because that would be a great talking point for our broadcast.
Yeah.
Let's see. You mentioned a little bit of the history. Is it you're going to show the team some videos of former Labor Day Classic games, stuff like that?
Yeah, we always do that, just a little bit, and you know, I just think that it's important to show just that's the beauty of the CFL. You know, to me, it's a league it's built from the inside out. Like, where players, coaches are accessible, and they love it. And you know, of course, the kids, I think, quote unquote, kids love it, but they don't, because that means they go back to school. And so there's just so many fun things that happen, and you know, people are probably coming down from the cottages. They're ready for some fall football and things like that. There's just so many things that go into it, and then just the pride and tradition of Hamilton Tiger Cat football. It's something that you definitely to keep alive. You know, we always talk about standing on the shoulders of those that came before us, and so this is another chance to really just emphasize that messaging.
That's great. Yeah, there's a group of Labor Day Classic lovers in East Aurora, New York here too. We have a 10-pack of tickets ordered for the game for people coming up, and it's a great day of football and a great CFL event. So we're looking forward to it, Coach. Best of luck as you get ready with the remainder of this week leading into the Monday game. Fans, as always, send your questions to Coach O at gameday@ticats.ca. And we'll see you on Monday, Coach. Thanks a lot.
All right, appreciate it, Luke. See you next week.
Another episode of the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker is in the books. Let us know your thoughts. Email us at gameday@ticats.ca. Coach O and Luke are back next week to discuss the latest from the locker room. Subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.